Well, I finally did it. Can you believe it? I, Maverick Lee, have went 1 whole year without any coffee or caffeine in general. 1 year, that's crazy. I don't know if you've seen my first video on why I quit coffee, but I never honestly thought I could do this. 1 year, that is insane. You know, I was drinking anywhere from the likes of 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day. On average, I would say 2 to 3, but it was definitely common where I would drink 4. And even sometimes if I was at home, maybe 5 if I was doing some work. That is crazy. I knew it was a very unhealthy habit, and I knew it was also a type of drug, but people haven't really caught onto it yet. You know, just because it's legal, I think many people out there fail to consider how caffeine is an addictive drug. Because it's legalized, it's considered normal. It's in all the movies, all the TV shows.
I'm telling you, you get tough with people and you can get anything you want. Hey, Tribbiani, give me that coffee now.
I mean, there's even coffee shops popping up on your street corner. There's so many coffee shops now. Everywhere you look, there's a coffee shop, you know? So, yeah, it just got me thinking. I thought, you know, these are like heroin clinics. If you go in one of these coffee shops, especially like a lunchtime or first thing in the morning, you can see people like The Walking Dead just like lining up like zombies, waiting for the next hit and the next fix. And I realized, I thought, this is really unhealthy. This is not natural. This is not good. I need to stop this. So here I am, a year on. I honestly never thought I would be able to do it. And I have to admit, the first few weeks are definitely the hardest. After the first few weeks, you always get the, let's say, I don't know, cold turkey effect kicking in. Or I know for the likes of myself, even just by walking past a coffee shop, just getting a whiff of coffee, it would just trigger these natural responses in my mind. I mean, I guess this is normal when you've had a habit for many, many years. So many years I've lost count. So I guess it is your habit kicking in. But I realized, I thought, this is more serious than I thought it was. You know, people say, oh, I'm going to stop drinking coffee, I'm going to pack caffeine in. But actually, they don't realize how serious this is until they actually quit. Then they realize when they get all these instincts, they get all these triggers inside their mind, inside their body, all these urges. You just think, oh, well, it's only a coffee. You know, you see people enjoying themselves, sitting outside. They look like they're relaxing. But then you've just got to make sure that you snap out of it and be like, well, I was once there. I was once that person. And how it looks to me is not actually how it feels when you are that person in that position. You know, it soon gets boring and you soon realize all this coffee and all this caffeine has many side effects. And I'm not talking just financially either, because let's face it, if you accumulate how many coffees you spend today, I mean, just get a pad and paper or get your notes out on your phone and just make a note of this. And how many coffees do you drink on average per day? Just note it down just now. And then tally it up on average the price per cup. And then find out how much that is, how much you're spending every week. And then, of course, times it by 4 for 1 month. And then times that by 12. And you will get the figure of the amount of money you are spending on this addiction every year. That is insane. I mean, imagine you accumulate all that money, you don't waste it on this hit, your next fix, you actually get it and you do something more productive with it. I mean, that could actually get you a holiday. You could open up your mind, open up your experiences, open up your eyes to the world with that money alone. You could actually go to a new country, have a crazy adventure, or even, it depends on how big the coffee addiction is or where you're getting the coffees from. You could even go on probably a world trip. I know that sounds exaggerated, but you probably could. I mean, I've seen some deals and offers out there where you can actually do like globe trips where you can travel around the world for very, very little. So, you know, you've got to consider all these. And I mean, even if that coffee addiction paid for, say, one trip around the world or one trip around Europe or wherever it may be, or your dream country where you've always dreamt of going since you were a kid, even if you just like use some of your own money, that's if you have to anyways. I highly even doubt it. It all depends on the person. But even if you use just some of your own money, just for like say stay or like food expenses, you've still just getting a free trip around the world. I mean, you've got those stories, those experiences, like that knowledge, that wisdom that you've picked up, you've gained, and you've got that for the rest of your life. I mean, imagine if you're a man sitting back and you're a grandfather one day and you're talking to your grandchildren like my granddad used to talk to me, and you're sharing all these unbelievable experiences, all this wisdom, all this knowledge. Just imagine how much of an interesting man you would be. Or even if you're a lady, imagine how interesting of a grandmother or a mother you would be, like having all these extra experiences to pass on, teach your children, like your children could benefit from those experiences, from those stories, and it also sets the bar high for them too. So these are things that people don't consider. When they say a coffee, they just get the smell, they're just like, I want a coffee. They don't put any thought behind it. They don't realize that a coffee is basically mostly hot water anyways. It's only a little bit of powder. And half the time, like most coffee shops, half of the coffee is actually expired. It's out of date. It's been too long on the shelf. Coffee, to get the true benefits, this is something I realized and something I learned back when I used to be a real coffee addict. Coffee has a lot of benefits if it's cooked fresh, if it's roasted fresh, if it's freshly roasted coffee beans, it can have lots of benefits, some natural healthy benefits. But the problem is, almost 99% of the places in the world do not roast their coffee beans. And when they do, usually they actually expired that way date. There's only a certain like shelf life of these benefits with the freshly roasted coffee beans. So many of the big like industries, many of the big coffee brands, many of those have been packaged and left on shelves for months, even years, some of them. So yeah, when by the time you do get it, it's basically just burnt coffee. It has no benefits for you whatsoever, except obviously the caffeine, and that caffeine is what is getting you addicted. I would say up until about 2 months in, it starts to get easier. It starts to wear off. The urges start to wear off. From about 3 months on, I know personally, I started feeling much, much better. As I mentioned in the video I just mentioned prior, why I quit coffee, check it out by the way, if you want to get my first take on when I first quit coffee and why I quit coffee. As I talk about in that video, there's many side effects that I was suffering from. I know anxiety was probably top of the list, apart from the financial aspect, which wasn't really a big deal, even though it is, if you understand what I mean. But it's not as bad as your health problems, because health is wealth. As I say in many of my videos on my channel, health is wealth, and health is the one thing you can't get back. So when you start having problems with your health, I mean money, you're going to make money again, you're going to get money, money's going to come back, you spend it, it's going to come back. But your health, that's with you forever. That affects everything. That affects the people around you, that affects you, that affects the way you see, the way you feel the world, everything, everything. So I was getting high anxiety, and this is something I've never ever had in my life. I was getting like anxiety to the point where it was borderline. In fact, maybe even beyond borderline. I was starting to catch a stutter when I was talking. That is just not even normal. I knew there was something not right, because I've always been a good speaker, or so people have said. And this is something I never actually had happened to me before. I knew something wasn't right, and I knew I had to change something about my life. I put it down to stress. I thought maybe it's the stress, maybe it's my job, maybe it's all the pressure I'm putting on myself with all my own personal goals. But actually it's not. It all came down to the caffeine and the coffee. Like, this is crazy, this is insane, this is something I've never heard anybody online talk about before. So yeah, the anxiety. So from about, I would say 3 months, the anxiety wore off big time, really did wear off. And the second biggest, if not the biggest, There's that many side effects, I can't even decide which one was the worst. The second biggest, possibly, was also the heart rate, my heart rate baseline. I mean, my heart rate was wild. Every day, I could literally feel it. I could feel it. I could feel my heart rate like rising all the time. It was just beating so, so fast all the time. And then suddenly through the day, I would get a sudden crash of energy. Like I'm talking a real crash where I'm just zapped. Like I could be out and I'd be like, oh my God, like my eyes, I could actually feel my eyes just closing down. It felt like my body computer system was just shutting off. That is not normal. I thought, I'm not even an old man. Like, how is this happening? I am not old. I realized I really got to change this because I can't be living like this. I can't be living like this. This is not a way to live. It's like I was going from coffee shop to coffee shop just to get through the day. This is insane. It really is. My energy levels were much, much better. I started to get less and less energy crashes through the day. I had the less urge for naps. I was getting less urges when I was getting the smell of coffee. And I started feeling more comfortable being who I am and being different and not being like everybody else. I started viewing others differently. So when I seen them all with the coffee and the coffee cups, and I seen them all coming together with the coffee, I started being more confident and proud of myself and the direction I was going in. I didn't have the desire, the urge to do that anymore. And I started seeing things different, like, for example, consumerism, and even sheeple, as they call it, the sheep like mind, where people just go with the flow and they just do what's trending, they just do what's cool. And I start realizing I was doing the right thing, I was on the right path. I was having more pocket money, you could say, left over. So it was always nice to be able to, say, go for a meal and splash the cash a little bit more and treat myself if I was feeling like I wanted to do that. And also, I'd even had an eye twitch, which would regularly come on. Now, this is quite normal in people who drink a lot of coffee or consume a lot of caffeine. And I was sick and tired of it. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of having this eye twitch. Like my eye would just go crazy, would just start twitching. Like, what the hell is that all about? Again, this is something I've never seen anybody talk about online. I used to search the web and everything. I never seen nothing like actually touching on these things. So I thought, this is crazy. I never had this before. So I realized my coffee addiction was just getting out of control. Now, I didn't have coffee breath, but I definitely had something which is serious and could lead. It usually does lead to coffee breath, and it's definitely linked. And that is dry mouth. I had dry mouth. So my mouth was always feeling dry. Even if I drank a lot of water, I would still feel like my mouth was like a Sahara desert. It was just so, so dry. And it was the caffeine drying out my mouth, drying out the saliva on my tongue, for example. So yeah, this wasn't good too. And he has something else which is a little bit disturbing, maybe, but after all, this is an honest reflection and review of my 1 year anniversary mark of going cold turkey, quitting my coffee caffeine addiction. But even, for example, when you go to the toilet and you can smell the caffeine literally rising from your urine, that's how strong it is. It was so strong that it would even sometimes smell like a coffee shop. Like, that is insane. That is insane. Like, another thing, that's when I realized this is not good. This is not normal. This is not natural. This is not healthy. This is not good. And I was drinking a lot of water. So before anybody says, oh, well, that's because you weren't drinking enough water. No, no, no. I drink a lot. I drink a couple of liters per day. So that had nothing to do with it. I was flushing it all out. The amount of water I was consuming and I do consume, it should be completely clear. It should be looking like water. It should be looking like a waterfall when it comes out. But it didn't. And I realized again, nah, this is not for me. This is not the path I want to go down. This is not where my future leads. If you drink the odd occasional coffee, there's no problem with that. Even if you just drink one a day every now and then or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. Even if it's just one, I don't even think one's a big deal, really. It all depends on the person themselves and if they're experiencing any side effects, like anything I've mentioned. Then you might want to consider maybe just, lessening this down. Everybody's different. It affects people differently. The side effects are different in each individual person. Like, I'd even heard people say that if you drink caffeine before you go to bed, before you go to sleep, it disturbs your sleep. Well, actually, that's not true, because I could literally drink an espresso, a double espresso, and I could sleep like a baby instantly. So that didn't really affect me, but I have to say, when I woke up, my heart rate was high. Even like after a full night's sleep, I would just feel like my heart rate was just high. I would just feel a bit on edge, on edge. That's the only way I can explain it. Just on edge, a little bit uneasy. After the first few months, you start getting way, way, way more control of this. You don't crave it as much. You start feeling more in control, and that feels empowering. It really does feel empowering when you see yourself like just so disciplined, knowing that what you feel is what all these other people are probably most likely feeling with these coffees that you see in these coffee shops. Yet you are more disciplined. You've actually like got that under wraps. You've got that part sorted, that aspect in your life. It's just very, very empowering, the feeling, and it motivates you and encourages you more to be more productive, to do more productive tasks, achieve more goals. It just feels like you've set out on a mission and you've achieved it, which is very, very self-rewarding. So yeah, a year on, how do I feel? I feel flipping fantastic. I feel unbelievable. I really do. I feel like my energy levels are much, much higher. I feel more energetic. I feel calmer. I feel more relaxed. Even mentally, I feel more patient. I have way, way, way less anxiety. The stuttering has completely gone. The eye twitching has completely gone. The urges are gone. Like, I can walk in coffee shops now, I can sit down and I can get a different drink. I don't even have the craving anymore for coffee. I can sit with people drinking coffee and I don't even have the craving anymore. Was it worth it? It definitely was worth it. Definitely, definitely worth it. I don't know how long I want to keep this going for, but I don't see it as like a problem. I don't even see like an end goal. I just think this is perfect. But yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to keep this up for. I don't know. It's not that it's difficult or nothing. It's easy. It's just there's only so many things you can do in life, and life gets a little bit boring sometimes. Sometimes you just want to like spice things up a little bit and just change the routine. Just the odd time, I just think maybe I could just get a coffee, just for the novelty. But then again, I keep thinking back to how I used to be hooked on it, literally hooked on it. And I think, is it really worth it? Because just one cup of coffee is similar to, like, say, one of these alcoholics who's now relapsed and picked up their first beer. I know some people might be thinking, oh, that's a bit extreme, but if you're like me in my position, if you even drank more, I can't even imagine if you're drinking more than what I was drinking, but even if you did, like, you will totally understand and hear my message. You will understand what I'm saying. Even if I do have the big urge now, it's okay. It's okay, I can, because I went so long now. I feel like I'm in control of it. Anyways, subscribe to the channel, drop a like on this video. It really encourages me to make more videos just like this for you all. And stay tuned, because I might post another video in the future and I'll give another update and let you know how it's gone, or how it's going, or if I relapsed. Hopefully I won't be doing that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Take care.